So we're here with Michelle and Tony right now, and here at Remedy, we always talk about stories of redemption. And when our executive director Clinton met you guys, you were very open about your story of redemption, a story of where you were to where you're at now. And I love that we often have individuals that come in here, but this is special because your guys are married. So first off, tell me about. We'll start at the very beginning because I love love. But so where'd you guys meet at, and how long have you been married now?
Well, we first actually met in high school, in summer school, and we did not like each other.
Ooh.
No, I was already in my rebelling stage, and she kind of was an overachiever, and we definitely did not like each other at first. But that was like our first interaction, and then believe it or not, you can attribute our love to Yahoo chats.
I love that.
Back in the day. What was that?
Hey, I know you.
It was Indiana chat room on Yahoo back in 2005, 2004.
I don't know.
Somewhere in there. Yeah.
Yeah,
Great.
but we just celebrated our 17th wedding anniversary, and we've been together now for, it's around 18 years.
Yeah, 18, 19 years, yeah.
Yeah.
Somewhere there.
That's incredible. And it's all been easy, right?
Oh man. Do you know what? Believe it or not, the easy parts were actually where it was the roughest.
Yeah.
The parts where it was ignoring the problems, but I'm sure we can get into that with our stories.
We'll
but
yes.
It's kind of weird, like that. The way that the Bible talks about things, the first will be last and all these kinds of things. So it's like the more struggle you go through, I think the better things actually become after all that.
Well, I want to jump right into that because, like I said, stories are what we do around here at Remedy. That's why we are who we are. And so I'm excited for this. So if I just say, tell me your story, you could take it any way, shape, or form. But why don't you guys just tell us your story today?
I'll start off a little bit with like what started our redemption.
Yes.
Would have been, I had an addiction to opiates, and just basically to escaping my reality. So ever since I was 15, substance abuse issues, starting with smoking weed in high school, and it just progressed through drinking and harder drugs, and it just got worse and worse as I got older. And it would have been in 2016. Was it 2016? January?
Yes.
So like January 2016, I ended up getting arrested for the last time. Let's say I've been arrested many times for many things. But that's what started that was the end of like relying on my own power to get through things. And then for
That's
her,
also the point that I was like, I'm done. So you either need to get clean or I'm done. Because I couldn't put our family through it anymore. So my background is I had a lot of abandonment issues growing up, and I had some other things happen that were not great. Like I went through a rape and things like that. So I had a lot of background before him of not being able to trust people, feeling I had this void that couldn't really be filled for a long time. But I was very faithful. I actually started in college trying to become a youth pastor, and then realized I wanted to go work at a urban school. So I went through that process myself, and I was very, like, when we got married, I made a commitment, and I was going to stick by that commitment because it wasn't just to him, it was to God. And so that's kind of where my line was, is I tried to be there for him as much as I could, even when it got really dark. But at the same time, it got to a point where I couldn't enable it anymore, because I found out when we started going to recovery together that I was codependent and I was enabling, and I had to learn to set boundaries.
That's incredible. Tony, we'll talk about you. And there's not many people, I can't think of anyone who ever signs up to go through addiction, right?
Oh yeah.
You don't ever plan to go through addiction, but
Right.
maybe talk more about your journey and how you didn't plan to go through addiction, but you
Right.
maybe walked into it.
Yeah. So it starts for me, my addictive personality started when I was a kid, very small. I realized my biological father was out of the picture before I could remember anything. And so I saw other kids that had mom and dad, family. I felt like I was different and I needed to make up for it somehow. And so there was a lot of acting out and things that happened as a small child. And then I'm a pretty big guy. Like now I'm a little fatter, but I used to be just big, right? And I was good at sports. So baseball, basketball, football, all these things. I found an outlet to fill that, like she said, like an emptiness void inside I had with sports. And, that was okay up until high school. Then I hurt my knee, wasn't able to play any sports anymore. And instead of dealing with that emptiness and that feeling I had inside, I discovered it was really easy to fit in with the druggy crowd, stoners, whatever you want to call them. And so I joined that lifestyle, lost all the friends I had made through sports, and then blamed them for not being my friends anymore, even though I had turned into a bad influence. And then it started with just kind of like some marijuana and drinking here and there, and I just never really developed the skills that people need to deal with life in general. So I got to a point where every day of my life was judged by if I was able to get high enough, or anything we were going to go do. I had to make sure I was going to be extra high so I could get through it, or make sure I'm back at a certain time so that I'm not too sober. And it just turned like you said, nobody signed up for that life. It wasn't anything at the end. I mean, it eventually moved to intravenous needles and, like really bad things. I didn't sign up for any of that. I made some choices, and those choices led me down a path that was almost impossible to get off of. And then, like she had said, when you have somebody with an addictive personality and somebody that's kind of codependent, we turn into a tornado of bad decisions and negativity and just toxicity. Now, it wasn't really that noticeable on the outside. She was unhappy. I was unhappy.
We fought a lot.
We did, but we had kids, and we had 6 kids or 4 kids, and in 6 years we had 4 kids.
Yeah.
So, like, our lives for the beginning part were just chaotic. Like infants, toddlers, small children, all throughout that. And I tried to help and be a stay-at-home dad for a while, but it was actually an excuse to be able to shirk responsibility. And it was like I definitely put her through more than what she needed or deserved to go through, right? None of my addictions, none of what I've done is her fault at all. But what I think, like what you discovered in all that, is that, there could have been a way out faster, because like the consequences, and once there wasn't a safety net of every time I got in trouble, she was still there. Every time anything happened, I didn't have to worry about losing her. She was there. But then when that became up in the air as whether or not she was going to be there, be around the kids still, those consequences all came down, hit hard. And that was what kind of drove that was the time I was ready to make a change. Because I didn't want to do it anymore. It was...
He had tried.
I tried on my own many times. I went through probably the worst part. What would have been, I was working at a restaurant, kitchen, low, almost minimum wage. And we get paid on a Friday, and we had separated at this point. So it wasn't like, and it wasn't really her choice for that. That was, we had got evicted from another place. I mean, we got a whole story about getting evicted from places because I couldn't use the money right.
Sure.
But so her and the kids went to live with her mom and dad, and they would not welcome me in the house. So I had to go find my own place.
My parents knew what was going on. They could definitely tell.
But I wanted to be sober, and I would get through till Friday when I'd get my paycheck. Paycheck would come, and I'd make it maybe 6 hours before that drive to escape that feeling of being separated, all the negative. I had no way of dealing with that. So I would go use, and then feel bad about using, and then use more. So it's like that's the thing about addiction that people that don't have it don't understand too much, is that the insanity of it is reaching for it or using when you're sober. So like an alcoholic, somebody that would drink when they're not drunk, and knowing where that's going to lead to. But there's so much despair and hopelessness in that like it doesn't matter in that moment. So then I would run out of drugs to do after a day or two, and then I would start to withdraw on Monday, Tuesday, into Wednesday, and then by the time Friday came back around, just repeat the whole process over and over again for months. I was kind of like detoxing myself, weekly, putting myself through more suffering than I needed to. And then it got desperate, and I was starting to steal things. And that's what I got arrested for at the end, was stealing things. And I don't know. Yeah. It's like, I didn't choose the life. I don't think the life chose me. I think that addiction is most of the time people's best effort to self-medicate the pain they're in. And I'd been in pain since I was a kid.
Yeah.
And once that substance entered me and let me kind of numb it all away, I wanted that more than I wanted anything else, was that numb feeling of not having to think about it and all these kinds of things. And it almost destroyed, the things I love the most in the world. So the amazing thing is that through all that, here I still have Jesus to be there for me. I was raised Catholic and Catholic school and all that, and here I thought spirituality was just like a subject, something I could learn and then do it while I'm in class or while I'm in church and then leave it behind. And it's just it's amazing to be able to live in like spiritual principles of a recovery program and feel that love and understand that like no matter what happens, he's got my back. And so that's a good thing, I think.
While all that was going on, I was going through a lot myself, because I went through a whole process of grief. I lost my grandparents, who they raised me for some of my formative years, and my grandmother was my person.
Yeah.
And she was only 72 when she passed. And so I felt like that's when I felt the world start going out from under me, because not only was I watching him suffer, but I watched her suffer in another way. And it was very, very difficult. But I knew that I had to do what I had to do for my kids. So I just stuck through it as much as I possibly could. And my mom's like, I don't know how you got through the end of college and all through all that. And I'm like, to be honest, I don't really know either. It was a lot of prayer. And like when we were reconciling, like I had this overwhelming peace. And like I got to the point where I was like, I forgive you for all that. And I did. And I felt more peaceful by saying that. And it was just like this washing of clean slate.
Yeah. And I, hearing your story, it was a journey. It wasn't overnight.
Still a journey.
It's still a
Every
journey,
day is a journey.
I'm sure. Why did you decide never to give up on each other? Yeah.
I look at it like this, like I could say anything about in the beginning, Catholic, so it's a sacrament or whatever you want to say, contract with you and God and another person. Anybody that stuck with me through all that, all of what I put people through and all that, they deserve at least some effort on my part to fix it, to fix the relationship. Kind of like and it's not, like I said, it's not perfect. We still have issues all the time. All the time. No, I'm joking. But there's it's like
Very strong commitment.
I look in the future and I can't see one with her not in it. That's how I look at it. And that it's not anything that like is too different than in the beginning. It's just that I'm willing to put effort in to fixing things rather than escaping it and numbing it away. So, that itself can lead to some disagreements about things. But like, there's a smart man named Jordan Peterson says, what do you want to, you want to be right or do you want to fix the problem? And so like, if I just prove how right I am to her, that's not gonna, now I've got to live with miserable, defeated her for however long she's upset about being shown that she's wrong.
Happy wife, happy
Right.
life.
Yes.
But if we work on it together, where let me listen to your opinion on this and then try to understand where you're coming from to a point where I don't need to show you how right I am, where we can come to compromise, of things. That's what it is. I mean, I don't know. I feel like she deserves every effort on my part to make things better. And, why she stuck with me through it.
Michelle, why did you?
God.
I think there are people that are in your position who
Yeah.
also might have 4 kids at home and see their husband going through the most difficult time. That's maybe putting your family
Right.
through the most difficult time. Why did you decide to stick with it?
I mean, I really contributed to God.
Yeah. Yeah.
It didn't feel right to leave. There were moments where we separated. There were moments, but a lot of times that wasn't really my choice. He left me at one point. When I moved back in with my parents, my dad said, "You're welcome here. Kids are welcome here." He's not. I can't handle watching him treat you that way. Sorry. And so I had to stand there and be like, I have to stay here with the kids and you're not welcome. And that was very hard to do for me. Because I wanted to keep the family unit together. Keeping the family unit together, because now it's too easy for people just to leave. And I know what hole was left in me when my parents, I have a great stepmother who really raised me. She's a great mom. But it's still, as wonderful as the people in my life were, I had a wonderful grandmother, a wonderful aunt, a wonderful mom, and my stepmother. But I still had a hole. And I didn't want my kids to have that. But it never felt right. And then finally, it felt right to say, hey, if you don't do this, I'm done. I can't guarantee when you get out that I'm going to be here. Like, and it felt right. So whatever God was doing on that journey, he knew when.
Yeah.
He knew the timing.
Yeah.
And it was the right timing.
So if there's a couple that's going through something similar right now, I know one couple that's actually going through something very similar to you all right now, also with 4 kids. What would you say to that couple that's going through a time just similar to what you guys are going through?
Man, only things that are hard to swallow. That's what I would say.
We went through recovery together. And I went in there with the intention of fixing him.
Sure.
But then learned I had issues and I had problems and I need to work on myself. Because when he was going through it, I isolated myself. I stopped talking to everyone, stopped talking to friends. Now, if I don't call my mom every 3 days, like she gets upset with me type of thing, because I was going radio silent on people because I didn't want them knowing what we were going through. So I just stopped talking to people. But that was wrong. And so when we started going through recovery together, I started connecting with other people. And I still text with them a lot, with the people that we used to go to recovery with. There's accountability there. So not only do we try to keep each other accountable, but we have people outside of this that keeps us accountable to ourselves. Like, hey, did you set that boundary? You're struggling with this. Did you set that boundary? Are you keeping up with the boundary or are you pushing it? But
I think there's, if someone's in substance abuse, there's the thing that sucks about it is that nobody can do it for them. And nobody can tell them what their rock bottom's going to be. Nobody can really dictate it to that person that's struggling. We can try, like I work with Nate and Tommy who come do, bare knuckle recovery, and they talk about wish we could knock people out and bring them in sometimes.
Sure, yeah.
Because that's what people need.
Yeah.
I was what I consider to be a rescued. I was arrested and it rescued me. I thank God for that. For the people that I met while I was in jail the last time, somebody talked about Celebrate Recovery, to the guy that came in that was my sponsor that came into her school and talked about Celebrate Recovery like the day after I got out.
he came in to do a talk on something else. And then he just said, I have an overwhelming sense that I need to be talking about this.
Wow.
And after class, I was just like, you're talking to me.
Wow.
And it
that
just
was God.
all like,
Yeah. And then like those are cool moments. I think that when it comes to people in addiction, like the only thing I can say is that you got to get real and you got to stop living the lie. There's a good analogy. I mean, I work in a recovery center now. I tell a lot of the guys and girls that are struggling in the rehab I work in that if you've ever seen the movie Batman, it's the last one with Bane or whatever, when he's in the pit of sorrow or whatever, in the prison pit, he's trying to get out and he's got this rope tied to him so that if he falls, he doesn't have to worry about dying. And so it's kind of like she was the rope while I was in that pit. Like once that rope was removed, that fear of falling and being alone and not having somebody there for me that's what drove me to have the strength to do what was required in the end. So like, I think that everybody's got their own story. Everybody's got their own struggle, but
You don't want to love someone to death.
exactly, that is something that can happen. You can definitely, because I didn't even realize it was happening. I was just still trying to escape my reality. I was addicted to manipulating situations and people and want you to look at me this way and think that I was doing good over here, but really it was all just a big lie. There's suffer. That's what I would say. Because the more you suffer, the faster the bottom comes. So kind of like whatever you think is going to hurt that person, not on purpose. You don't want to hurt them on purpose, but like you got to say the hard things. You got to make the hard choices. You got to say no to them when they're pushing.
We use the word radical, or the phrase radical honesty. And like, I hear that in this story of that's what you want people to do, is be honest with not just themselves, but those around you,
Yeah.
which is so difficult as well.
It's and you feel like you're beating them down. You feel like it's your fault, but it's really not. It's kind of like a story arc for a hero is being built. I look back at our story and all the struggles and everything we've been through and everything I did that was wrong and all that. And then I look at the change that's happened, and now what I'm doing, what I care about, all those things. It's a hero story. Not that I'm a hero. I don't mean, but like.
But you are your own hero.
Well,
I'll say that.
I'll say this:
Yeah.
like, there's definitely a drive to want to help
Exactly.
people still struggling.
That's
And
awesome.
through a 12-step process, if you're living those principles, step 12 is literally doing that. So, you want to be there for the people that are struggling, and sometimes the best thing to do is to just tell them the way it is.
Yeah.
Like, you're screwing up, and then a lot of times they're not ready to hear it, and they're not going to do anything.
It's like for the longest time, I thought I was protecting our kids. But our oldest saw a lot. And he remembers a lot. So he went through his own struggle. And I know that they're working on their relationship, but he doesn't always trust him. He trusts me, though, so that's good that he at least has one parent to talk to. But even then, I'm like, is he telling me everything type of thing? Which probably not, because he's a teenager. But that's a relationship that still has to heal. And I know that they both work a little bit on it here and there. But again, he's a teenager, so when do we see him?
Well, this is something you learn in recovery. Is the best apology is changed behavior.
Yep.
And sometimes the amends that you need to make to the ones that are closest to you are just living amends. And there's not words I could say to him to make up for what he saw or what he went through or what he's, all that. But like, just trying to do what's right and letting him know that, kind of like being, not that I'm his role model, but there is someone in his life that's been through a lot and gotten through it. And then he's starting to been going through his own thing, and he got through it. He reached out for help, got help, and now he is an advocate for some mental health issues at the high school he goes to. So like, that's how it turns around. And he saw that, and I think, I attribute his problem to me probably more than I should. But he's definitely, he's grown up, and I know how I was when I was that age. So it's hard for me to,
Trust what he's doing.
trust him.
But he's a good kid.
Yeah, he's very good.
Good kid.
Yeah.
But like, that's the thing. It's kind of like a skepticism of it. And like, that's what you have to give an addict when they're working on getting better. You have to, optimistic skepticism, kind of like, I hope it's the best, but you have a history of not telling the truth. So like, I don't know. It's really hard.
He tells him, like, can't lie to a liar.
Yeah.
He's like, whatever you're coming up with right now, no.
Yes. Yes.
Just no.
Well,
I'll be able to tell.
yeah.
Man. Well, and I know your journey now has taken you into an incredible role with Allendale. And maybe for those who don't know what Allendale is, go ahead and explain it, because they are a dear partner of us here at
Okay.
Remedy. Yeah.
Yeah, Allendale is it's a medical detox facility for people with substance abuse problems. We're starting to get into some mental health disorder stuff too. I work in the behavioral health technician department, and basically, I just kind of help the patients that are there with their day-to-day stuff, whatever they got going on. It's been a blessing to work there. I didn't realize I needed a place like Allendale. I don't know how much I'm allowed to talk about Allendale.
Oh, you're allowed to.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
But like I attribute a lot of the value I see in my life to them now. I Celebrate Recovery, I told my testimony and toured around and told it to some different groups of people, and I never really got name-to-name basis with a lot of them. There's, like at Allendale, the patients that come through there, it is a daily reminder of how bad it can get.
Sure.
But also, it's a daily reminder that you can't give up on people, because I see people come in at their worst, and then 3 weeks later, laughing, having a good time, eating good food and trying to repair things. And I realize that it's not me doing it, but I'm a part of something that's helping them do that. So I don't attribute any of that to myself, but like a lot of what happens at Allendale is people realizing that they need to do something different than what they are doing, and it's it's the first brick in the new building of their recovery. So, and it's great. Like I wake up and I get to go to work. I don't have to go to work. That's the way I look at it. And
He volunteers extra time to go to work.
I mean, it's the most rewarding thing ever. It's like when I first got sober, if you would ask me, what would make you happy? Money, basically just money.
Yeah.
Right? Like, or like physical things. And now it's the hope that's being dealt there. It's not my quote, but I love it. I went from a hopeless dope dealer to a dopeless hope dealer. And it's kind of like how I see it there. It's just a whole company dedicated to like making the world better, one broken person at a time, which is what you guys do here too. It's amazing. I love it. So yeah, you want to give advice to people struggling, it's that it's not going to last forever. And if you do it alone, that's your choice. The connection that she's found in Celebrate Recovery, that I found in recovery and at Allendale and in other meetings I go to now, that's literally what it is. If you're isolating yourself, that's downward spiral. But connection with other people that are trying to get better, that's what it is. That's it, I think. And I think that if we open our hearts to God and ask for the knowledge of His will and the courage to carry it out, then that's all you need. You don't need to ask for anything else. He'll show you. You just gotta shut up and listen.
True.
Yeah.
Well, is there anything else that you guys want people to know today, those that are watching?
Got anything? I don't know. I get on my soapbox sometimes when it comes to recovery, and I don't have it all figured out. I still struggle with things, and I have days that are not where I feel like I'm going to go use or anything, but where it's just like I struggle with with today. But like I said, I make a choice to do it alone or reach out. And if somebody's out there struggling with substance abuse, just, maybe you think you might be, but you're not sure and all that, just know that there's an entire army of people out here waiting for you. And we're here, and, there's no judgment. There's just hope, and there's, you're going to make our day if you come out and ask for help. So that's what I'm all about.
I've really developed, going through recovery with him and stuff, I've really developed this passion for like youth that have recovery issues.
Yeah.
And I work with, like, I'm a teacher by day, but I also like working with another organization and I work at a summer camp. And so, there's been times where there's been kids that struggle with mental health and stuff, or just, loneliness or what have you.
Yeah.
And then on the other spectrum is we have kids that have drug addictions and things come through one of those areas. And I really feel passionate about they need help. And sometimes the schools don't have answers for them all the time because the places are full or what have you. So that's kind of been like where my heart is right now, is just really trying to be their advocate. Tried to start some sobriety clubs that hasn't really gone off very well, but just being there sometimes. Like, I might not be able to start some club or something because the kids are like, oh, that's kind of but a lot of kids know that I'll listen. So they'll come talk to me about their friend who's struggling or something like that. So, and there's been a lot of heartache going on. So, just being open to listen to someone else and then also be able to direct them to who can take them to the next level.
Well, thank you guys for coming and sharing your story. Like I said in the very beginning, stories of redemption are what we live by here. And we all have a story in some way, shape, or form. But substance abuse is one of those that's just very dear to my heart and very dear to Remedy's heart. And there is hope. That's what we always like to say. There is hope on the other side. You're never too far. There is always a hope. I mean, he leaves the 99 for the one, and that's what we do here at Remedy. And so there is hope. But thank you guys for coming in today. And I have chills, but it's just so cool to hear that there is another side of the journey. And so I appreciate you guys, and I'm so excited for your continued journey and just your marriage in general as you guys continue to grow and grow into love. And so thank you guys so much for being here.
Thank you for having us. Yeah.